Back in the late 90s, before the glory days of the iPod and iTunes, there was a little gem of a software called Winamp. People over the age of 30-ish will remember Winamp as the go-to music player for people using Napster, LimeWire, and Kazaa to illegally download Aerosmith MP3s to their gateway desktop computers. For anyone younger than that, it was like Spotify, but you needed to collect every single song you wanted to listen to manually and add it to the app yourself. Crazy, but what actually happened to Winamp? Can you still use it today? Let's find out. Winamp was more than just a music player. It was a cultural icon. Developed by Justin Frankel and Dmitry Boldarev in 1997, Winamp was one of the first ever software MP3 players. Before Winamp's inception, creating a playlist was a hell of a task. You don't even want to imagine. But for everyone who had Winamp on their PC, all you had to do was drag files to the playlist window and that's all. And so, Winamp's combo with early file-sharing networks like Napster changed the way people discovered and listened to music. There was so much about Winamp that we loved. It had a light weight, you could customize it, and listening to music was a lot easier. Who doesn't like the easy way? We all do. So Winamp became a hit in no time, and in case you never heard, it only had a 4-person team behind it. Music nerds were so in love with Winamp because designers and developers were able to customize things in amazing ways. Winamp rode the wave as it grew from no users to 90 million users, only to become forgotten. Just like many other 90s tech stories that you've heard, you can guess what began Winamp's downfall. That's right, a buyout. Sometime in June 1999, AOL acquired Nullsoft, which is the company behind Winamp, for $80 million. Well, you could say it was quite the payout for a 4-person team, but the major problem was, AOL only bought what they knew nothing about. Page views to the Winamp website brought in a lot of ad revenue, and of course, thousands of people paid $10 for the pro version of the software, but that was about it regarding revenue. Meanwhile, AOL was still making ridiculous sums of money with its infamously sandboxed dial-up service. That massive revenue stream made it difficult to prioritize other projects, even the big projects that cost AOL millions. Eventually, AOL had to make software like Winamp was a promotional opportunity for the dial-up service. And soon installing Winamp meant declining offers for free AOL subscriptions. That was a big turnoff for Winamp users. Bundling AOL software and offers with Winamp made the software look so cheap. And before we could even mourn the loss of our favorite software, something new came knocking. In 2001, Apple launched the iPod, and it was no joke. By 2003, we already had iTunes for the PC, and that was the beginning of Winamp's crash. So far you have an iPod, all you had to do was switch it to iTunes to listen to your music. A lot of people bought iPods, and since iTunes was more or less required for loading up an iPod with music, a lot of people became iTunes users. iTunes came out to beat Winamp hands down. It could identify CDs and copy songs from them in just a couple of clicks. And while Winamp had a cluttered interface, the iTunes interface was super clean and easy to use, at least at the time. Also, Winamp was made up of several windows, while iTunes only had one. The truth is, a lot of computer geeks still preferred Winamp, but to a much bigger audience who only wanted to rip their CDs and listen to songs, iTunes came first. As soon as Winamp knew iTunes was taking its place, it tried to control the situation. Winamp began to officially support transferring music to an iPod, but it wasn't enough to regain its spot. Apple took the music player thing to a whole new level, and later did too much. Winamp's user base declined drastically, and by 2013, AOL could no longer hold it, so they decided to shut it down entirely. But the plan changed entirely at the last minute when Radionomy, a Belgian digital audio company, bought Nullsoft. The Winamp website declared that a new version was going to be available. It was a good thing to look forward to, the comeback, but even after 5 years, we've seen nothing. Occasionally we would see news about new builds, but nothing substantial has appeared so far. You might be wondering, where's Winamp right now? The answer? It's alive. The 2013 software bought by Radio Nami still worked up to 2018. Just that the unchanged Winamp website pointed to a forum thread when you request a download. From the thread, you are then directed to a simplistic website where you'll find Winamp 5.666 for Windows. Yeah, old software, but it worked. During the time, the company was working on something new, but in 2018, a premature leak led them to release version 5.8. Fast forward to 2022, we now have the latest build, Winamp 5.9 RC1 build 9999, which is the result of 4 years of work. The current build looks better with new features expected to be added after testing. Years have passed and a lot has changed. Many people don't even know what Winamp is. We can do well without it now. But if you ever want to remember the good old days, you can give it a spin. After all, it's Winamp. Thanks for watching, and please hit the subscribe button for more nostalgic videos.